He is considered the greatest horror film in the history of cinema. At the same time, he is also considered the originator of psychological horror movies. He is The Shining. The story begins in a Yuanwang hotel. Winter of 1970. An administrator named Grade, because I can't bear the torture of claustrophobia and lose 1 inch mind, killed a family. Then he shot himself. After witnessing the tragedy, the hotel manager, be very careful in selecting administrators. But a man named Jack didn't care at all. He thinks this kind of tragedy will never happen to him. So he became the new hotel manager. Wife Wendy also looking forward to it. The husband was able to get the job successfully. Their son Danny, but I am full of resistance to this hotel. Exactly, that's what Danny said. The one who has been living in his body. A boy named Tony resists the Overlook Hotel. Both parents think Tony's existence is just a child's prank, so I didn't take him seriously. Reluctantly, Danny came to the bathroom alone. In the bathroom, Tony predicted that his father had got the job. Sure enough, the next second the phone at home rang. Tony's prediction came true. Danny then asked Tony, "Why do you want to go to that hotel?" Tony refused to tell him, but after Danny asked again and again, a horrific scene appeared. A strange corridor appears in front of Danny. But then a huge amount of blood poured out from deep in the corridor. And a pair of weird twin girls suddenly appeared in front of her. Danny is so frightened that she falls ill. Mom sent her to the doctor. But the doctor didn't find anything wrong. Soon it will be Mrs. Jack's day. A family walks through a quiet forest. Arriving at the hotel quickly, the manager takes Jack and his wife to visit the hotel. Through the introduction of the manager, they learn about the Distance Wang Hotel. It is a luxury hotel built in 1907. But because of the invasion of Indian land, was attacked by Indians many times. The Yuanwang Hotel was completed 2 years later. Become a famous luxury resort hotel in China. Hosted almost all the famous people in the United States. At the same time, Danny is playing alone in the hotel. Suddenly he turned his head, discovering the twin girls I met before, was standing in the corridor staring at him, then look at each other and smile, turned around and disappeared. He returned to his mother in fear. At this time, my mother was visiting the kitchen with the head chef Dick. Suddenly Dick called Danny, Doc. Wendy felt very strange because only myself and Jack occasionally call us that. Danny, this guy I just met. I definitely don't know the nickname Danny. Facing Wendy's questions, Dick prevaricated. But then an even more surprising scene happened. Dick, who was introducing the warehouse to Wendy, looked at Danny. From his body, uttered words that only he and Danny could hear. He asked Danny if he wanted some ice cream. This kind of communication that others cannot detect, or power, only happens between Dirk and Danny. This power is called the Shining. The person who owns the Shining can see what will happen in the future and, by observing the traces left on things, speculate what happened. Of course, different people, the size of the Shining ability they possess is also different. So actually what Danny said about Tony, actually there are 2 possibilities. One is, he always thought he could predict the future. It's because Tony told him that information. But it's actually because he has the ability to shine. The other is that Danny has 2 personalities in her body, divided into main characters Danny and hidden personality Tony. And the hidden personality has this ability. He told Danny what happened to him. Danny arriving at the hotel. I can often feel the weird atmosphere here. Sleep at night. I can always dream of some ominous images. One day he suddenly asked Dick, what happened in room 237? Dick listened, sternly warned Danny not to approach room 237. But full of curiosity, Danny, one day I still couldn't bear it, turned the door handle of the room. The door is locked. But at this moment, the twin girls, suddenly it flashed into Danny's mind again. Danny fled in front of room 237 in panic. The first month, this family is living very comfortably. Jack concentrates on writing in front of the typewriter every day. Sound of keyboard tapping, echoing in every corner of the hotel lobby. Wendy looked at everything in front of her. I am very pleased with the change in my husband. She stepped forward to congratulate her husband on finally finding creative inspiration. But this time Jack ignored his wife's kindness. He angrily accused her of interrupting his inspiration and drove his wife away angrily. At the same time, he also completely isolated himself. The winter blizzard is coming as expected. Bad weather damages phone lines. Can only rely on radio to barely maintain contact with the outside world. Danny still rides around every day. One day he was sitting in the hall playing alone. Suddenly a pink tennis ball rolled down the corridor. But you thought it was your mother who was playing a prank on you. He walked towards the direction where the tennis ball was rolling. Want to see what happens? But I saw an open door to the room. The number 237 is clearly displayed on the door sign. Driven by curiosity, Danny opened the door and walked in. At the same time, a man's voice came from the hotel lobby. Screams of agony. Wendy heard the sound and ran over quickly. I saw Jack, who had just woken up from a nightmare, sitting in front of the typewriter sweating profusely. He dreamed that he had killed his wife and children. At this time, Danny slowly walked into the hotel lobby. Wendy turned around and saw Danny. Shocked, the boy's face was expressionless. Clothes torn. Neck full of bruises. He turned his head. Seeing my husband, who has not yet recovered from the nightmare, immediately came to a conclusion. In a hotel where only this family lives, the only one who can take action against Danny is Jack. He remembered that Jack was drunk before. The day that hurt Danny, he angrily insulted Jack a few words. Finally, he hugged Danny and left the lobby. This is someone who just woke up from sleep. Jack feels innocent. He walked angrily down the corridor, insulting his wife for not trusting him just now. Jack, in a bad mood, entered the golden hall of the hotel. Sitting in front of an empty bar, he angrily murmured to himself, "I do exchange your soul for a glass of wine." The words just fell. Looking up at the originally empty wine cabinet, in an instant it was filled with wine. A neatly dressed bartender stood in front of him and handed him a glass of wine. Although Jack feels strange, but he did not avoid this sudden vision, accepted a drink from the bartender, and complained to the bartender about his wife. Just when he was venting his dissatisfaction, Wendy suddenly ran to him crying. He said Danny told him there was a crazy woman in room 237 who hurt herself. Tell Jack to go and see what's going on. So Jack went to room 237 alone to check. He opened the bathroom door. I saw a woman opening the shower curtain. He got up from the bathtub and walked over to Jack. Hugged him. Jack enjoyed this sudden sexual blessing very much. But when I look up through the mirror, he saw what he embraced turned out to be a decayed corpse. Jack hurriedly pushed the woman away and ran back to his room. But when faced with his wife, who asked about his situation, but he said there was no difference. Wendy obviously couldn't accept this fact. Ask if the hotel is empty. Who hurt Danny? Jack said casually. It was Danny who hurt himself. Wendy obviously doesn't accept Jack's perfunctory behavior. He can't stand it anymore. I want to take Danny out of here immediately. This decision angered Jack. He blames Wendy for always holding him back. Make it difficult for yourself to focus on writing. After the quarrel, he slammed the door angrily and left. Just when the couple was quarreling, Danny alone in his bedroom, I saw a red word floating on the door. Red room follows. He saw blood pouring out like a tide at the end of the corridor. Jack walked down the corridor angrily as he left. Suddenly he heard a very noisy sound came from the Golden Hall. He turned a corner and saw that the corridor was lined with balloons. There seems to be a party going on in the Golden Hall. He walked in. In the originally empty hall. At this time, the seats were filled with people dressed in fine clothes. Jack walked straight ahead. But he was accidentally hit by a waiter. His clothes were splashed with soup. The waiter apologized quickly, and went to the bathroom with him to pack clothes. Before talking, Jack learned that the waiter's name was Greg. The name caught Jack's attention. Ask again and again. After learning that the waiter has a wife and 2 daughters, he was convinced that the person in front of him was his ex. Insanity and paralysis due to claustrophobia. The hotel manager who caused the tragedy. But Grady denied this statement. And tell Jack, the manager of this hotel, there has always been only one person. That's Jack himself. And remind Jack, Danny is using his talents. Team up with a black man to try to resist Jack's control. And told Jack that he should punish his son well. Like he punishes his wife. Like 2 daughters. The other side of the hotel. Danny's behavior becomes increasingly bizarre. He keeps making strange noises in the bedroom. Say the word red room repeatedly. Wendy walks into the bedroom. I saw Danny looking indifferent and keep emphasizing that it's not Danny who's sitting here, but Tony. At her wit's end, Wendy decided. You should talk to your husband about it. He came to the lobby, but Jack isn't here. By chance, he came across his husband's writing manuscript. There is only one sentence repeated above, only work. If you don't play, smart children will become stupid. He panicked and looked at the thick pile of manuscript paper next to him. All of the above are just repeating one sentence. Just at this time, Jack appeared. He looked fierce. Weird smile. Step by step towards Wendy. Wendy climbed up the stairs in fear, waving a baseball bat in hand. Want to stop Jack from approaching. During the dispute, Wendy hit Jack on the head. He tumbled down the stairs. Passed out. Wendy quickly took the opportunity to save the unconscious man. Jack, who has gone crazy, is locked up in the warehouse. The moment the door closes, Jack wakes up. He forced Wendy to open the door with coercion and inducement, but frightened Wendy, completely unmoved by his threats. He decided to take his son and leave here, then find a doctor to save Jack. Hear this. Jack suddenly let out a ferocious laugh. He told Wendy evilly, he has destroyed radio equipment and snowmobiles. Yuanwang Hotel. Now it's an island in the ocean. In the evening, Jack has been locked up for a long time. I heard Grady's voice coming from outside the door. Grady's seductive voice, questioning his determination and ability. There is no way to take care of your wife and children. When Jack heard this, he felt even more humiliated. He said angrily that as long as he could get out, I must teach my wife and son a lesson. Then the door lock was really opened. Just as Jack was released, Danny suddenly woke up from his dream. He uses Wendy's lipstick. Keep writing the word red room in your notebook. He kept saying the word, and the sound is getting louder and louder. This word spelled backwards is murder. At the same time, Jack, who has completely lost his mind, is heard outside the door. The sound of an axe being dragged closer. The frightened Wendy hurriedly took Danny to the bathroom, and let Danny escape along the snowdrift. But the window is too small. Wendy can't escape, so she could only hide in the bathroom. At this time, Jack has found the bathroom where Wendy is hiding. The next scene, one of the most classic passages in film history. The axe struck the weak door again and again. With no way to escape, Wendy's expression was twisted with fear, accompanied by terrifying knocks and screams. Finally a hole was opened in the door. I saw Jack showing a perverted smile, put your face against the doorway, saying this classic line. The tense atmosphere suddenly reached a climax. Just as Jack turned the doorknob, so he borrowed a snowmobile from a friend. Decide to prevent the tragedy by yourself. Jack dragged his injured leg and walked toward the lobby with an axe in his hand. Decided to deal with this uninvited guest first. He lurked in the corner waiting for Dick to approach. Unprepared, Dick was attacked and killed on the spot. By this time, he had already run back to the hotel, and hid Danny in the closet. Saw this horrifying scene through the shining. Can't help but scream. Jack heard his son scream. He also looked for Danny everywhere. The hotel door is open. Danny ran out. Jack calls Danny's name. I saw Danny's figure from a distance. Ran into the forest maze. Jack followed in without hesitation. But due to my leg injury and unfamiliarity with the maze, Jack quickly lost his way. He gradually lost strength, wandering back and forth like a trapped animal in a maze. At this time, Yuanwang Hotel seemed to be awakened. Various ghosts floated out from the corners, originally clean. The gorgeous golden hall is covered with cobwebs. Skeletons squatting on the sofa. Tides of blood gushed out at the end of the corridor. He also kept rushing towards Wendy. Wendy ran out of the hotel crying without looking back, holding Danny who also just escaped from the maze. Mother and son drove the snowmobile brought by Dick. Left this ominous place. Jack in the maze heard the sound of a car starting. He desperately called his wife's name. Try your best to ask for help, however. The roar of the wind and snow covered up all his shouts. Jack couldn't get out of the maze at dawn. Blizzard in the Rocky Mountains. Frozen him into a ferocious statue. End of video. The camera slowly moves towards the photo wall of the Golden Hall, located in the center of the dance group photo. The person in the middle of the first row of the crowd turned out to be Jack. The camera finally stopped at the time of signing. Marked July 4, 1921.